The courtroom erupts as a defiant teenager storms in, rolling his eyes, scoffing at every word the bailiff utters. His parents plead quietly from the back, but he barely glances at them, choosing instead to challenge authority with every move. Judge Caprio, calm and steady, observes quietly, weighing each gesture, each insult, each sharp retort. Tension crackles in the air as the teen mocks the seriousness of the courtroom, daring anyone to stop him. But beneath the arrogance, the teen's choices have consequences he cannot yet see. What will happen when truth meets defiance? Can a calm voice break through pride? The courtroom holds its breath. The doors creaked open, and he stepped in. Arms folded, a smirk playing at the corner of his mouth, he scanned the courtroom like a general surveying his troops. Whispers erupted instantly, slicing through the otherwise silent room. Every head turned, every eye followed. Judge Caprio's gaze settled on him, calm but piercing, sensing the storm behind that arrogant facade. This was no ordinary teen. This was pride incarnate, draped in the fragile cloak of fear he hadn't yet admitted to himself. The bailiff cleared his throat, a subtle warning, a soft attempt at discipline, but the teen ignored it entirely. Murmurs swelled, a low, anxious hum as his parents exchanged tense, worried glances. He caught their eyes briefly, the faintest flicker of guilt betrayed by a shrug and a sharper grin. The courtroom felt suspended, like a held breath waiting for an inevitable exhale. Judge Caprio adjusted his glasses, his calm presence contrasting the charged air. Every movement measured, deliberate, commanding respect without raising his voice. The teen's defiance radiated outward, bouncing off the walls, infecting the spectators. Some leaned forward, curious, some recoiled slightly, unsettled by the raw energy of unchecked pride. Every observer could feel the imbalance, the scales of morality tipped, just barely, by a child's audacity. "Do you understand why you're here?" the judge asked, voice steady, almost gentle. A hush fell, the weight of expectation pressing down. The teen's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. His arrogance met calm authority, and for the first time, a crack appeared, quick, almost imperceptible, but enough for anyone paying attention. He shrugged, a casual dismissal, his tone laced with bravado. "Yeah, I guess." The courtroom reacted instantly. Gasps, whispers, murmurs mingled into a tangible force, a tide of tension that washed over every corner of the room. Judge Caprio didn't flinch. His eyes softened, but the moral weight was clear. Privilege didn't grant immunity, and defiance didn't grant wisdom. The teen's parents shifted, unease writ plain on their faces. He remained frozen in the middle of it all, a storm contained in a teenage body, arrogance clashing with an unacknowledged fear. Every movement, every glance, every smirk set the stage for the inevitable collision of pride and justice. Have you ever faced someone so brazen? What would you do? This courtroom isn't just a room, it's a mirror, reflecting the choices we make when power and pride collide. And today, all eyes are on him, waiting to see whether arrogance will crumble or confront the law head-on. The teen leaned back in his chair, smirk widening as he rolled his eyes at the bailiff. "Seriously? That's how you do it," he muttered, loud enough for the nearest spectators to gasp. A ripple ran through the courtroom, subtle but sharp, like the whisper of a storm before it breaks. Even the hardened observers flinched, their brows knitting in disbelief. Whispers spread, audacity at its purest, raw and unfiltered. Judge Caprio's eyes met the teen's, calm and steady, the silence between them thick and electric. He did not raise his voice. He did not flinch. Each pause, each deliberate glance, carried weight heavier than any shout. The courtroom felt suspended in time, every tick of the clock a drumbeat in a brewing moral storm. The teen snorted, leaning forward now, hands animated. "Come on, you don't really expect me to?" His words trailed into a mocking chuckle, a challenge thrown into the air, daring anyone to react. Gasps erupted from the audience, some shaking their heads, others gripping the pews in disbelief. Even the bailiff's jaw tightened, fingers drumming nervously on the side of his belt. Judge Caprio inhaled slowly, each movement deliberate, commanding the room without a single raised tone. He let the silence linger, letting the teen's bravado echo in the empty spaces. Then, with a tilt of his head, a quiet firmness in his voice, he asked, "Do you truly understand the respect owed in this room?" The courtroom hushed further, each heartbeat loud in the tense air. The teen laughed, sharp and dismissive. "Respect." "For this," he said, gesturing vaguely at the courtroom, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Eyes darted nervously among the audience. Murmurs grew louder. The power dynamics had flipped, at least for a fleeting moment. The room held its breath, caught between outrage and fascination. Caprio's gaze never wavered, his calm an unmovable rock against the tide of arrogance crashing before him. He leaned slightly forward, letting the teen's smirk meet the immovable authority of reason. The teen's laughter faltered, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features, just enough to make the audience lean closer, sensing the first cracks in the facade. "Every action has a consequence," Caprio continued, slow and deliberate, voice calm but cutting through the tension like a blade. "Mocking this court, mocking the law, mocks yourself. And when the truth arrives, it leaves no room for pretense." A collective shiver ran through the room as the teen's posture stiffened, the first real sense of accountability brushing against him. Have you ever witnessed someone so brazen? What would you do if you were in this courtroom? The question hung in the air, inviting every viewer to feel the weight of authority versus audacity. And as the teen realized, slowly, that laughter could not shield him forever, the stage was set, every eye now on him, waiting for the moment when pride would meet justice. Judge Caprio lifted the first sheet, a crisp traffic citation, and placed it deliberately before the teen. The room held its breath. Every eye tracked the motion, every whisper stilled, replaced by the weight of anticipation. The teen's smirk wavered for the first time, a tiny crack in the armor he had worn so confidently. "Notice here," the judge began, voice steady, measured. "This wasn't your first warning." The citation glinted under the overhead light, proof of choices already made. The teen shifted uneasily, glancing at his parents, whose hands were tightly clasped, knuckles white with worry. Gasps echoed, low and resonant, as spectators realized the pattern emerging: recklessness, ignored caution, arrogance unchecked. The judge laid down another document, this one a photo of the teen swerving dangerously, a stark visual of disregard for safety. His bravado faltered, a flicker of something real crossing his features: fear. Murmurs surged through the courtroom, whispers of disbelief, and the soft gasp of a child witnessing the immovable weight of reality. Even the bailiff, silent until now, shifted slightly, fingers brushing the edge of the desk as tension thickened. "Do you see what repeated choices can lead to?" Caprio asked, calm yet cutting, letting the silence draw the teen inward. His gaze never wavered, holding authority without a single raised voice. The teen opened his mouth, perhaps to joke, but the words faltered, drowned in the tide of undeniable evidence. Another sheet followed, multiple warnings, notes of previous encounters ignored, each one piling onto the last. The courtroom felt the gravity, arrogance meeting consequences, pride confronting truth. The teen's posture stiffened, the smirk fading, replaced by a flush of humiliation. He looked down, hands fidgeting, the first signs of human vulnerability emerging in real time. Judge Caprio tapped a finger on the table, deliberate, measured. "Every decision you make echoes beyond this room," he said softly, but every word carried the weight of inevitability. Ignoring warnings, mocking guidance, it's all documented here. This is not about punishment alone. It's about accountability. About understanding the path your choices create. The teen's eyes flicked up, meeting the judge's calm authority. The room felt suspended, each heartbeat echoing the tension. Gasps and whispers punctuated the air as he slowly exhaled, the first true acknowledgement of responsibility breaking through the defiant facade. The audience leaned in, captivated by the unfolding human story, power challenged, arrogance confronted, morality unfolding. Could you ignore the warning signs like he did? Pause, let the question linger. The documents lay bare the path from reckless pride to potential ruin, a tangible map of human error and consequence. The teen's collapse was subtle but unmistakable, his bravado crumbling, the reality of evidence undeniable. And as Judge Caprio guided him through each fact with quiet wisdom, the stage was set for the next chapter, where redemption, or further recklessness, would decide the outcome. The teen's parents rose together, their hands trembling slightly, yet their posture resolute. Every eye in the courtroom followed them, drawn to the raw, human urgency in their faces. The mother's voice wavered at first, breaking the silence like a fragile note, but the words carried weight beyond fear. They carried love, frustration, and a desperate plea for understanding. "Please," she said, voice shaking but firm, "we need you to see what this really means. This isn't just about a ticket or a warning, it's about your choices." She paused, searching his eyes, trying to penetrate the wall of bravado he had built. The courtroom leaned in, a collective hush as if holding its own breath. The father stepped forward, quieter but no less commanding. "We're asking you, listen. Listen to yourself, to us, to what's at stake. We're not trying to punish you. We're trying to protect you." His words cut through the tension, grounding the room in a moral gravity that even the teen could not ignore. Gasps ran softly through the audience, the weight of genuine parental concern striking like a hammer against the armor of arrogance. The teen shifted in his seat, arms no longer folded, jaw tight. The smirk faltered. His eyes flicked to his parents, a flicker of vulnerability piercing the confident facade. For the first time, the arrogance met the reality of human concern, the raw, undeniable power of love confronting pride. The courtroom felt the shift, the subtle yet seismic emotional reversal, as spectators sensed the first cracks in his defiance. Judge Caprio leaned forward, hands clasped lightly, his calm authority a counterpoint to the emotional wave. "You hear them," he said softly, measured, deliberate. "They speak not to shame, but to guide. Every word is a mirror, reflecting the consequences of your actions, and the hope that you will choose differently." His eyes never left the teen, steady, unflinching, guiding without force, letting morality lead where threats could not. The teen's fingers tapped nervously on the desk, his posture rigid. The courtroom murmured softly, whispers of anticipation, witnessing pride collide with familial love. The parents' words lingered in the air, punctuated by pauses heavy with meaning. Gasps and gentle sighs underscored the tension, the fragile dance of accountability and compassion unfolding in real time. Have you ever watched someone you love face their own choices, and felt powerless, yet hopeful? Could your words guide them, or would pride block the way? The teen's gaze shifted, a subtle nod almost imperceptible, but enough to signal that the walls were crumbling, and that the next chapter would decide whether humility or stubbornness would prevail. Judge Caprio leaned forward slightly, fingers resting lightly on the bench, eyes steady on the teen. The room seemed to contract, every sound muted except for the faint shuffling of papers and the soft hum of tension. "You've been given many chances," he began, calm, deliberate, each word a precise strike. "Chances to see the consequences of your actions, to respect the rules, the law, and those around you." The teen shifted in his seat, body tense, jaw tight. He opened his mouth to retort, then closed it, swallowing his defiance as the weight of authority pressed in. Whispers filled the air, low but insistent, while some spectators leaned forward, captivated by the unfolding confrontation. Gasps punctuated the silence whenever the judge's words cut deeper, exposing gaps in judgment the teen hadn't yet acknowledged. "You've mocked this court," Caprio continued, voice calm but slicing through arrogance, rolled your eyes, scoffed at guidance, and ignored warnings. "Every act a choice, every choice a reflection of character." His gaze never wavered, holding the teen in place without raising a tone. The teen's hands curled into fists on the desk, fingers drumming nervously, his posture defensive yet drawn toward the inevitable lesson. A murmur rippled through the audience. Even the bailiff's hand rested lightly on the desk, alert, sensing the peak of tension. "Do you see it?" the judge asked softly, pausing just long enough for the teen to absorb the question. The courtroom hung on the silence, each heartbeat amplified, the stakes palpable. The teen swallowed hard, shifting in his chair, eyes darting between the judge and his parents. Pride and defiance still lingered, but beneath it, a flicker of curiosity, a subtle crack in the armor. The judge leaned back slightly, letting the pause stretch, letting the teen's own thoughts confront him. "Every choice has a cost," Caprio said quietly, letting the words land like stones in a pond. "And when you choose arrogance over respect, when you put pride above wisdom, the cost is always higher than expected." Gasps and murmurs swept through the room as the teen's smirk vanished entirely. He looked down at his hands, a flash of vulnerability crossing his features. The courtroom felt the emotional pivot, the moment when defiance meets reflection, when rebellion is confronted by moral authority. Could you face someone so brash and still guide them with calm authority? Pause. Consider the weight of choice. The teen's shoulders slumped just slightly, the first sign of humility pressing against the remnants of arrogance. Every spectator leaned in, captivated by the moral reckoning unfolding. empathy balanced with consequence, pride challenged by wisdom, rebellion facing inevitable reflection. Judge Caprio's gaze softened fractionally, voice steady yet filled with moral clarity. "You are more than your mistakes," he said. "But only if you learn from them. Only if you choose differently next time." The words hung in the air, a quiet challenge, a moral invitation, and a soft hook for the next chapter, where redemption, or continued recklessness, would finally reveal its outcome. The teen's shoulders sagged imperceptibly, a flustered shrug betraying the first cracks in his armor. His eyes darted to the floor, then back at his parents, searching for some escape, some way to reclaim the smirk that had once defined him. But it was gone, replaced by a fleeting look of fear, subtle yet undeniable. The courtroom felt it immediately. The air shifted, heavy with anticipation and silent awe. Judge Caprio leaned slightly forward, eyes calm, measured, watching every micro-expression. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't scold. Instead, he allowed the moment to breathe, letting the teen confront himself without shame, without ridicule. The teen's lips parted, a soft, accidental admission escaping before he could stop it. I didn't think it would matter that much," he whispered, voice cracking slightly. The room went quiet, the weight of honesty filling the space. Gasps ran through the spectators like a ripple across a pond. Some murmured under their breath, others leaned forward, captivated by the raw vulnerability on display. The bailiff straightened, eyes alert, sensing the emotional pivot, the subtle collapse of pride meeting moral clarity. Every heart in the room beat in rhythm with the teen's uncertainty, each one acutely aware of the delicate balance between authority and humanity unfolding before them. Caprio's voice remained calm, steady, a gentle force guiding the teen toward reflection. "It matters," he said softly, letting each word sink in. "Every choice matters. Every action has consequences, not just for yourself, but for those around you. You are responsible for what you do." He paused, letting the silence amplify the lesson, allowing the teen's own conscience to speak louder than any reprimand could. The teen's fingers twitched nervously, drumming on the table as he processed the truth he had so long ignored. The smirk, the arrogance, the defiance, all were dissolving, replaced by the tentative recognition of accountability. His eyes flicked toward his parents, seeing not anger, but concern, love, and the hope that he would understand before it was too late. Whispers swelled gently, emotional murmurs weaving through the audience like the soft hum of a storm subsiding. Some shook their heads, others exhaled audibly, witnessing the intimate collision of pride and responsibility. The teen's posture softened, shoulders dropping, gaze lowering, an almost imperceptible nod signaling the first embrace of humility. Pause, and reflect. Have you ever stood in a moment where pride confronted truth? Where accountability, unexpected and unwelcomed, revealed who you really are? The teen's collapse was subtle, yet seismic. Arrogance had begun to crumble, replaced by dawning understanding. Every observer, every viewer, felt the catharsis, the connection, the quiet, emotional release of a human realizing the cost of choices, and the possibility of redemption. The courtroom fell into a tense, almost sacred silence. Every eye was fixed on Judge Caprio as he adjusted the papers before him, his movements slow, deliberate, commanding attention without a single raised voice. The teen sat rigid in his seat, hands gripping the edge of the table, every muscle taut with anticipation. Gasps and whispered murmurs swept through the room, a wave of collective breath held in suspense. Caprio lifted his gaze, calm yet piercing, and scanned the courtroom, letting the weight of the moment settle on every observer. "We have listened. We have watched. We have considered not only the actions, but the choices behind them, and the lessons they teach." His voice was measured, each word resonating like the strike of a bell in a quiet cathedral. The teen's jaw tightened, eyes flicking to his parents, who sat tense but hopeful. The judge paused, letting silence stretch just long enough for the tension to become almost unbearable. Every spectator leaned in, whispers fading to nothing as the room held its collective breath. Could mercy prevail? Would discipline dominate? Or would the verdict balance both, the scales tipping toward wisdom as much as justice? "Young man," Caprio continued, his tone calm, yet layered with moral authority, "the court recognizes your courage in facing the truth. The moments of defiance, the arrogance, they have met consequence, and yet they have also met reflection." He allowed the words to hang, letting the teen feel their weight, the gravity of his journey from pride to humility. The teen shifted slightly, shoulders still tense, eyes fixed on the judge, searching for meaning in each measured phrase. Caprio's calm presence enveloped the room, guiding not through fear, but through understanding. "This is a moment of growth," the judge said, voice softening but unwavering. "A chance to learn that respect, responsibility, and the choices we make define not only who we are, but who we may become." A soft murmur ran through the audience, whispers of admiration, relief, and the quiet recognition of human transformation. The teen's parents exhaled, fingers entwined, hearts swelling with cautious hope. Caprio leaned forward slightly, voice steady, eyes unblinking. "It is not punishment alone that teaches. Nor is mercy without reflection enough. Both must guide you now, shaping the path forward. Pause here. Think, what would you choose if the scales balanced between accountability and compassion? Could justice ever be tempered with understanding?" The teen's posture softened further, a faint nod, as he absorbed the judge's words. The courtroom waited, the air thick with moral suspense, every spectator silently predicting, hoping, dreading the next words. And then, with the calm authority that defines every decision, Caprio's voice cut through the tension, preparing to deliver the verdict that would mark the culmination of pride, reflection, and the first step toward redemption. The courtroom held its collective breath as Judge Caprio straightened, hands resting lightly on the bench, eyes scanning the room with calm authority. Every heartbeat seemed amplified, every whisper stilled. The teen sat rigid, fingers clenched, jaw tight, yet the defiance that had once radiated from him now wavered, replaced by uncertainty and reflection. Parents leaned forward, hands clasped, eyes wet with hope and fear intertwined. Caprio's voice, steady and measured, cut through the silence. "This court has considered every choice, every action, and every consequence. And while you have shown moments of arrogance, disregard, and defiance, you have also begun to see the truth, the weight of your decisions." He paused, letting the words settle like stones in water. Gasps and soft murmurs echoed through the spectators, each person absorbing the gravity of the moral reckoning unfolding. The teen's eyes flicked toward his parents, catching their hopeful gaze. The mother's lips trembled, the father's fingers flexed nervously, yet both radiated a quiet strength. He shifted slightly in his seat, a subtle exhale escaping him, his first outward sign of vulnerability since entering the courtroom. Caprio's calm presence enveloped the room, guiding, not coercing, allowing the teen to internalize the lesson without humiliation. "You are responsible for what you do," Caprio continued, voice unwavering, "but you are not defined by your mistakes. Growth comes not from avoidance, but from recognition, reflection, and the courage to do better." Each word resonated, carrying a weight beyond the walls of the courtroom. Whispers of approval ran through the audience. Nods, subtle smiles, and exhaled breaths punctuated the silence. The teen's posture softened, shoulders dropping slightly, the first tangible shift from defiance to understanding. Caprio leaned forward slightly, eyes meeting the teen's directly, calm but piercing. "This court balances accountability with compassion. You will face consequences for your actions, yes, but you are also given the chance to learn, to grow, and to choose a better path forward." The teen swallowed hard, eyes flicking to the evidence displayed moments ago, the dashcam footage, the citations, the warnings he had ignored. The weight of reality pressed against his chest, yet beneath it, a spark of humility began to glow. Parents exhaled collectively, relief softening their expressions, yet the courtroom remained captivated by the moral transformation taking place. The teen's lips quivered briefly, a silent acknowledgement of lessons learned, of pride yielding to understanding. Gasps, murmurs, and gentle applause threaded through the room, subtle yet deeply emotional. Viewers could almost feel the internal shift, the collision of choice and consequence, authority and compassion, pride and human growth. Caprio's gaze softened fractionally, voice calm but imbued with quiet moral clarity. "Remember this day," he said, "not for the punishment nor the lecture, but for the chance to become better than yesterday. Every choice you make shapes who you are." The courtroom absorbed the lesson, the teen reflecting on the journey from defiance to understanding, parents embracing the fragile victory of influence, and viewers left to ponder the enduring power of calm authority and moral wisdom. Have you ever witnessed someone face themselves and emerge changed? Could you guide a moment of defiance toward reflection? If you believe no one is above the lessons of life, and that even arrogance can meet growth, Hit subscribe to follow more transformations where accountability meets compassion. The courthouse doors swung open, sunlight spilling into the crisp air. The teen stepped out slowly, his shoulders no longer rigid, hands unclenching as if releasing a weight he hadn't realized he carried. His parents flanked him, voices low, words measured, sharing the quiet understanding of a lesson finally absorbed. The murmur of distant traffic and courthouse bustle contrasted sharply with the internal stillness that now surrounded them. He glanced at his parents, eyes softening, a subtle nod acknowledging both their presence and the journey they had taken together. The arrogance that had once radiated so fiercely was replaced by introspection, a young man confronting the consequences of choices, now aware that respect and responsibility were not abstract concepts, but lived experiences. The mother reached for his hand, and for the first time since entering the courtroom, he accepted it without hesitation, the gesture small yet profoundly human. Judge Caprio's words from earlier echoed in the teen's mind. Accountability is not punishment alone. It is guidance, it is compassion, it is the quiet insistence that one's actions shape both self and community. The teen walked beside his parents in silence, each step echoing the moral clarity imparted in the courtroom, each breath a reflection of humility settling into understanding. The father glanced at him, voice steady yet gentle. "Do you see now? It isn't about fear or getting caught, it's about learning who you want to be." The teen nodded, swallowing hard, lips pressed into a line as he processed the depth of that lesson. Gasps of realization, though invisible to the public eye, seemed to linger in the very air around them, the resonance of growth unspoken, yet felt profoundly. Passers-by might have seen only a quiet family leaving the courthouse, but for those who followed the story, every movement carried weight. The teen's gaze lingered on the building behind him, a place that had once represented authority and judgment, now transformed into a space of human connection and moral awakening. Have you ever stepped back and felt the weight of your own choices? Could a moment of reflection, guided by patience and clarity, transform pride into understanding? The teen's journey was a mirror, a chance for viewers to see that accountability can teach without humiliation, that growth often comes in the quiet aftermath of confrontation. As they walked toward their car, shoulders aligned, steps measured, the silence between them was no longer tense, it was reflective, deliberate, human. And in that quiet, the lesson lingered, leaving both the teen and the audience changed, inspired, and ready to carry the truth forward.